Ladies and gentlemen, my dear colleagues, sorry for the late. It's a relatively new serial, and do you hear me? Do you hear me? Do you hear me?
I hear you.
Okay. Hát igen, de a világ a lényege az egésznek az internetnek szól. Yossi kedves, az örökké valóság. Az örökké valóság. Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, in this serial...
But I don't like to see my full presentation, only half of it.
Okay, and yes, and
question is, now I see it, and the question is, do you allow me to handle it? Can I manage it?
Yes, I can manage. I can manage.
But can you make me the number 2 manager so that I can manage it?
No, I can't. I will manage it. Okay.
Okay, so please start.
Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, this is a new serial initiated by John Wesley College, and especially the doctoral program of this college. In this college, it's an interdisciplinary social science interdisciplinary serial, and in this serial we have started to ask some kind colleague of us to deliver lectures as they want, choose topic as they want. In this element, we ask Yossi Korazim-Korösy, and he is on the floor. Please deliver it.
So thank you very much. Jó estét mindenkinek. Good evening to everyone. I will be speaking in English, but if there is anything that you need some clarification, please do not hesitate to stop me. We are a small group, so it's no problem at all if you stop me. Just a few sentences about myself. I was born right after the Second World War in Budapest, and we emigrated to Israel after the Hungarian Revolution in 1956. So Hungarian was my first language, but then for 30 years I switched to Hebrew. I had to learn Hebrew, everything from the right to the left. And 30 years later, as I returned for the first time to Hungary, and since 1993, I am combining business with pleasure. I have some family and lots of new friends, and I am teaching in a few universities. For the last decade, I am teaching at Wesley Theological College in Budapest. And please move one slide, Peter.
Hello.
Yes, please move it to the
slide. Sorry, it's your flow. It's only a technical. It was a technical problem. Yes. Please follow. Sorry.
Okay.
Folytasd kérlek, parancsolj.
De nem látom a szlájdokat. now it will continue. So this is what I'm going to talk about. I will start with a little bit of warm-up, and then I will discuss how I started this idea of interdisciplinary in community work, and we'll continue how do I try to move into interdisciplinarity in social sciences. And I can keep the slides now. I have seen it before, the first one, but then now I see only those who are present. I understand that right now we are 6.
Yossi, may I ask you, tell me very clearly when I have to go to the next page.
I don't understand what is really. I have a presentation. If you cannot move it by yourself, I will put on mine, but then you will not see it. And I will be just talking, which is not that nice because
Okay, but please tell what picture do you need? Which picture do you need? Which slide?
Slide number 3.
Number 3, okay.
And if you can put it on, please, so that we can see.
It's number 3.
But I don't see it.
The others?
Do the others see the slide?
No, I don't see it. I don't see it.
Now I see.
Now you see?
Yes.
Okay.
Do the others. Well, I see it not as a slide. Can you make a slide series out of it so that just by pushing the button it will keep on moving?
Okay.
But if it is too complicated, then we'll use it this way. So I will start talking and we'll see better if you succeed. Basically, this is, I want to spend a few minutes as a warm-up, and I would like to ask you to read these 4 questions. I will read them for you, and then you will have a chance also to introduce yourself. So basically, I was interested to know who you are and what your lead profession is, and what are your areas of interest, also teaching and if you do research. And then I would like you to identify 2 or 3 additional professions with which you may be collaborating right now, or maybe you would like to collaborate in the future in order to improve the effectiveness of the services you provide. Services, or to improve the research that you do. And the 3rd question is, I would like to understand how does this collaboration of yours work? So how frequently or how intensive are these collaborations, and in which ways do you collaborate? Is email? Do you meet face-to-face? Do you use Zoom or any other internet technology? And how frequently for example, during the last year. And then if you could spell out some unique benefits of this collaboration of yours, can you say, wow, it's wonderful because by myself I couldn't have done it, and maybe there are some synergetic dimensions. So I don't know you, but there is a Tomasz Uros and Saint Peter Noy and Nicolette and Melinda. This is what I have on my screen. So please, any one of you who would like to say something about yourself in reference to these 4 questions.
Okay.
So just tell me, who are you? What is your
Okay,
profession?
perhaps Richard start it, please. Richard, do you hear us?
Yes, I hear you. Yes, I hear you. Yes, I hear you now. Well, I'm a political scientist, and I'm interested actually practically in everything in social sciences. I'm not sure if I could understand all 4 questions. Certainly, I don't see them on the screen, but this is more or less what I wanted to say about myself.
So the first question, sorry, what is your first name, please?
Richard.
Richard. So Richard, you are a political scientist, that's what you say, right?
Right.
And is this an area that you teach and you do research?
Yes, I do both.
Okay. Now, during your career, did you have professional collaborations with non-political science? Did you teach together? Did you do research together? Did you write papers together with another profession, not political science?
I don't think so. No.
Which means that you have been working by yourself and publishing by yourself?
Yes, mainly.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
But now comes the next question.
Right.
If I would tell you that I give you $100,000 under the condition that you do a research not with a political scientist or even 2 colleagues, but they cannot be political scientists, which profession would you choose to collaborate with? Which are the 2 professions that you would choose to collaborate with?
But certainly I wouldn't need that much money, and I would choose historians and lawyers, maybe.
Historians
And lawyers. Lawyers.
lawyers.
Right.
Can you please explain why?
Because the field that I'm interested in is an interesting field, and it's an interdisciplinary field anyway. So,
What is the field?
well, it's political institutions, 19th century, 20th century. So lawyers would be a great help. I'm a lawyer myself as well, and historians
So you have
would be welcome very much. Sorry.
So Richard, you have a degree both in law and in political science.
Yes.
Which means that in a way you are an interdisciplinary academic.
Oh yes, who is not?
Well, there are several whom I know who
Are there?
all their 3 degrees, BA, MA, and doctorate, are just in one profession. I have a BA in social work and MA in public administration,
Right.
and the doctorate in social work as well. But there are people who have degrees from all their 3 degrees are each one from a different profession.
Right.
So thank you very much, Richard. And,
Thank you.
And Peter, could you ask anyone else that you think could contribute?
The others, as I see, the other colleague, as I see, they are PhD students, so practically they can say something perhaps about their ambitions or their original studies, perhaps not really their researches, but if they want, it would be a great pleasure for us if Melinda or Yvette or Tamás.
Yes, please. So let's take a female this time. Richard was the male, and you said Melinda. Melinda, are you there? Melinda, are you there?
Okay, perhaps it's not compulsory. Yes, that's okay. I would say that I'm. Let's see me. Originally, I'm trained as a historian in the Faculty of Arts, and later I started to move to history of education, and in that way I am historian of education or sociologist of education, and in this meaning it's a kind of interdisciplinary or multidisciplinary work, perhaps a little more multidisciplinary than interdisciplinary. And that's my answer for that question.
And did you do any research during your career with someone else who is not in your areas of expertise, but someone with a different, who comes with different knowledge area?
Practically, I'm work together with sociologists, with historians, with lawyers, with educational experts, with political scientists. I wouldn't like to work with demographs. I wouldn't like to work with other colleagues, so that's not other ones.
And do you have publications as well, research publications?
Yes, in that type of reviews. Yes, in that type of reviews. And András Csepregi, who just arrived.
Yes. Hello there.
András, do you see the questions of Yossi?
We don't see. Unmute yourself, please.
Perhaps he can't hear us.
No, he has to unmute himself. He is muted now.
Technically, we are not very successful.
No.
Hello, everyone. I'm here. I hear all of you. It's
Okay.
all right, and I can see the questions.
Okay, and can you please answer your question? It's like you introduce yourself from a professional perspective, your areas of interest, and then whether you can identify 2 or 3 additional professions with whom you would love to, or maybe you already collaborate with in teaching, in doing research, in writing papers, and how frequent is this collaboration, and are there any synergetic outcomes of these collaborations?
Yes, I'm not quite sure that I am aware all of the aspects of the discussion. I've just joined.
Whatever is relevant.
Yes. So my area is theology, and
Theology, yes.
theology, yes, and within theology, I do systematic theology, and my favorite are social ethics and Christology. These are the main topics of my research.
Okay, but in this meaning, András, we can say that you are interested in the historiography because, for example,
Yes,
what you speak about Bonhoeffer or about Bibot, they are in this meaning they are historiographical approaches.
Yes, it's quite.
And when you write, when you write to publish, usually you do it by yourself alone, or you have a partner or more than one partner.
Mostly, I am a lonely writer. Yes. It's very infrequent that I collaborate with anyone.
And if I would tell you, András, you can get a decent amount of money under the condition that you do not write by yourself, but you have to pick up a partner, and the partner cannot be from the same academic background like yours. He or she has to have a different academic background. Which professional would you look for?
Yes. Probably my first choice would a historian or a sociologist, maybe. I would like to work on culture of remembering, Erinnerung culture. I don't know the English word for it, which is on the basis of 20th century traumas in Hungarian social experiences that are very relevant. So probably these are the three main areas: history, remembrance, culture, and sociology.
Okay, thank you very much, Peter. Can I have the next slide, please?
Okay, number 4.
Probably the next one. Yes.
Yes.
Here it is. Okay. If I would handle it, then this page would come in step by step. So I would like to start with the yellow 2 lines, and I would like to say that I've already introduced myself. Basically, my identity is a social worker, although I do have an MA in public administration. But as a social worker, I've been very active during my career in the Israeli Association of Social Workers and in many other voluntary activities. And among others, we have been pushing in the 90s in our parliament. We have been pushing an Israeli social workers law, which was passed in 1996. And that means that social worker positions in the public sector in Israel, most of them are working at local authorities. No one can be accepted to work unless they have at least a BSW, a bachelor, a first degree in social work. And during those years, we have also followed the medical model of areas of specialization. And during the 90s, we have developed areas of specialization. And myself, with 2 other colleagues, we have developed community social work, so it's community work, as one of the 7 areas of specialization. The others are social work in the area of health and social work with the elderly and so on. So I've been working on community development. And in 98, the Israeli Association of Social Workers have accepted this area of specialization, and 5 of us, we have been very, very proud, and we went to an international conference in 99. This is the IACD, the International Association for Community Development. The meeting was held in Edinburgh, and we went there kind of very proud, and we are going to show the world how advanced we are in terms of community social work, and we already have accredited ourselves as an area of specialization, and so on and so forth. And we came to an international conference with some 30, 40 representatives from 30 to 40 countries, and hundreds of participants. And in many ways, we were in a shock to realize that we are a minority profession among all those hundreds of participants. There have been, in this international conference of community work, there have been professionals from sociology, from anthropology, from public health, religious leaders, of course a few social workers, lawyers, and most of the presentations were delivered by 2 or 3 people, and what was unique about those presentations, that these 2 or 3 presenters, each one had a different professional background. So in many ways, they were an interdisciplinary team. And when we returned to Israel, the 5 of us, all of us specialists now in community social work, and we said, wow, this was quite shocking, and we really have to start and understand what happened in this conference to us, because our identity was kind of trembling. And we started to use this word of interdisciplinarity without really understanding in depth what are we talking about. But we came together on a voluntary basis when we came back to Israel, and then everyone said, well, yes, I have a lawyer who is very active in one of these NGOs, in civil society organizations, and he is doing lots of advocacy and political lobbying. And someone else said, yes, and I'm working with someone who is an MD who is involved in issues of public health. And someone else was in the area of community education, community centers, and so on and so forth. And we said, wow, this is very interesting, because we really grew up as proud social workers, and in a way I can say that we tried not to involve other professionals, because we said, well, you are not a social worker, we don't talk to you. And slowly we started to bring together a growing group of professionals from several disciplines, and we applied for some funds, and we got a counselor for interdisciplinary, someone who was finishing his doctorate in the area of education, and his doctorate was the interdisciplinary dimensions in education. And his counseling to us was excellent. As a voluntary group, we met once a month for 5 hours each time. So from 3 or 4 until 8, 9 in the evening, once a month, but for 5 years. And we had this counselor. We did a lot of work together. And please, can you move to the next slide? Peter, can you move to the next slide, please?
Yes, number 5.
Okay, thank you. So, community social work in Israel in the late 90s, the beginning of this decade, most of the community social workers have been working at the public sector, local authorities, social welfare offices. And yes, there were minimal number of community workers who have been working on the non-establishment part of this continuum that you see in front of you. And we had this idea that we would like really to start working in depth about this meaning, the meaning of interdisciplinarity. We want to conceptualize the parts, the components of this concept, and we would like to bring together government social workers, community social workers, and non-governmental community social workers. So we set up this interdisciplinary forum for community development, and the idea was that by more collaboration between the establishment and the non-establishment workers, there are going to be more possibilities to develop more effective community projects. The next slide, please.
Yes.
So, these were the 7 main professions who participated, and the smaller dots are the others. So, the biggest group were the community social workers who initiated this forum. But as you can see, I am going now to the right and then down. There have been professional community workers who have been employed in the area of community education, which is primarily community centers. We have a big national organization of some 180 community centers in the country, primarily in the lower socioeconomic parts of it. We had public health MDs, doctors, and nurses. We had community lawyers who are dealing primarily with human rights. We had high police officers who wanted during those years to develop what is called in Great Britain and England the community policing. And then we also had local and regional economic development and urban and regional planners, in addition to many others who joined. And we had for 5 years, we had national conferences with all in all some 500 participants. Peter, can I ask for the next slide, please? Okay. So, what did we try to accomplish? We developed this interdisciplinary knowledge base with the help of this consultant who was paid. He was the only one who was paid. All the others were joining this forum on a voluntary basis. We have been learning very intensively about this concept of interdisciplinarity and what does it mean in terms of knowledge development and so on. And we saw ourselves as the first generation who is developing human resources in this area, and we started to look for projects which we believed that they should be more interdisciplinary, which means that we prefer that those projects are not led by a single community social worker, but there should be some collaboration between at least two or more professions. Next slide, please, Peter. Thank you. What you have here is, first of all, the name of, at least for me in the past 20 years, Julie Klein is the mother of interdisciplinary studies, and Moti Nisani is one of her students who stayed with her, and I think until today they are together. So these are just some very basic definitions that interdisciplinarity involves the bridging together of distinctive components of two or more disciplines, and that it is not a theoretical concept, but more a practical one that arises from unsolved problems of society. So the emphasis is on problem solving, rather than just developing science in itself. Next, please. We were lucky enough during those years to have a guest from New York, a professor of community social work. And when we met, we found out that we are doing quite similar, we are involved in quite similar activities, professional activities. And she was from City University of New York. And what she was doing, I don't know how many of you have been to New York and how many of you know City University of New York. University of New York, if I'm not mistaken, has 11 branches in New York City, in various neighborhoods. One of them is Hunter College. That's where I had most of my interactions. And they gathered professors from various departments from City University of New York, who are teaching community development from their various perspectives. So again, it can be community lawyering and geography and sociology and anthropology and public health and so on. So they were meeting a forum in New York the same time that, and it was not agreed upon. It just happened. We just found it out. So we started a collaboration, and in the United States they have a professional association of academics, which is called Akosa. The first line here, Akosa is Association for Community Organization and Social Action. And this is a professional organization of professors of community work, social community work. And one of the ideas was that we make a call for papers on an international basis, and this special issue of community practice came out in 2007 or 9 it was an international it is an international comparative book about interdisciplinary community development around the globe. So, and by the way, the opening article, the opening paper was translated into Hungarian, and here it is in essay number 2007, number 6. Okay, next slide, please.
Yes.
So after a few years, during the first years, we spent a lot of time in case studies. Each time someone else was doing an example of an interdisciplinary collaboration, community collaboration project. And at a certain time, we started to conceptualize these case studies, and we decided to use the metaphor of a flower, which in the middle it has its core knowledge base, what every partner should know about the problem, and some of the basic skills and values. And also, according to the problem, there has to be a decision which is the leading profession. So, if it's a health problem, of course, it should be the medical doctors or public health professionals should be in the middle. If it is more something like poverty and so on, there would be social workers. And if it is something about urban planning, so in the middle, urban planners. But the next question is, who are going to join around the table? What are the other disciplinary expertise? And in the area of community development, the experiential knowledge is most important, because we have to listen to the voices of the people for whom we are planning, and not only we have to listen to their voices, but as much as we can, we have to give them a chair around the table, and they should be our peers, they should be our partners in this process of community development. There is a big question: how many people can you invite around the round table? So the idea is not to invite too many, but there should be some overlapping of areas of knowledge. And down at the left-hand side, you can see disciplinary cracks and interstitials, where you have to ask yourself, when you finish your first interdisciplinary meeting, very important question is, who is missing around the table? And if you did all this well, basically what you did, you have expanded the boundaries of the traditional social community work among the social workers, and you created an interdisciplinary team. I feel that I am talking now too much, so I would like to stop for a moment and maybe to hear from those who didn't speak yet, if my lecture is clear enough, if my speed is reasonable, am I talking too fast, too slow, and whether you have any questions.
I think it's okay. It's Ivan speaking. I think it's okay. The speed and everything is in normal, so no questions. Very interesting topic.
It is okay for you, Ivan?
Absolutely
yes, everything
clear.
is okay. Very
Yes.
interesting.
Thank you. What about Tamás Korosy?
Tamás has generally problem with yes. Yossi, have you seen the message of Tamás?
No, I can't see.
Yes, he has some problem with his microphone, so he wrote that he is a jurist, and he worked before this as a social worker. So yes.
Yeah, okay, thank you very much. So maybe let's see the next slide, please.
Yes, slide 11.
Let's see what comes. Yes, okay. So, this doctoral student who was finishing his doctorate on interdisciplinary dimensions in education, one of his degrees was in philosophy, and he started with us with these concepts, which we didn't like too much, but then next phase I will show you another way to approach it. But still, for academics, it is important to read these four philosophical concepts. So basically what he said, in philosophy, we can look at interdisciplinary from four different angles. And one is the harmonic interdisciplinarity, which is the melting. It's like a melting pot of disciplines into one grand theory. So that's one approach to interdisciplinarity. The other approach is the dialectic interdisciplinarity, and that is emphasizing the differences and creating new synthesis. Emphasizing the differences means that when you start an interdisciplinary relationship, you find yourself arguing a lot and disagreeing with your partner a lot. Because you have to remember that you are coming from different academic backgrounds. And therefore, it is okay to listen to the other and to try to understand his vocabulary, his values, the skills that he or she are